Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to our class on Animal Farm by George Orwell. We are reading chapter 3 today. So far, the animals heard from old Major what a rebellion might be like and what freedom for animals might look like. And then, lo and behold, there was a rebellion where all animals were pronounced equal, except maybe, possibly, perhaps, the pigs. Not that the pigs said that, mind you. But we've kind of come to the agreement that the pigs maybe are treating themselves a little differently than anyone else. Chapter 3. How they toiled and sweated to get the hay in. But their efforts were rewarded, for the harvest was an even bigger success than they had hoped. Sometimes the work was hard. The implements had been designed for human beings and not for animals, and it was a great drawback that no animal was able to use any tool that involved standing on his hind legs. That's kind of interesting to me because I don't recall them saying that four-legged creatures standing on their back legs was a problem.
No.
I don't think. Was that one of the commandments?
No.
Okay. But the pigs were so clever that they could think of a way around every difficulty. I bet. As for the horses, they knew every inch of the field, and in fact understood the business of mowing and raking far better than Jones and his men had ever done. We do underestimate animals.
That's true.
I don't know to this extent exactly, but allegorically, I'm sure it's true. The pigs did not actually work, but directed and supervised the others. With their superior knowledge, it was natural that they should assume the leadership. Boxer and Clover would harness themselves to the cutter or the horse rake. No bits or reins were needed in these days, of course. No, we gave our labor voluntarily, hoping for utopia. Ooh, that'd make a good book title, wouldn't it?
Right?
Hoping for utopia. Don Quixote? Don't know. I have to read that someday. Boxer and Clover would harness themselves to the cutter or the horse rake. No bits or reins were needed in those days, of course, and tramped steadily round and round the field with a pig walking behind and calling out, "Gee up, comrade!" or "Whoa back, comrade," as the case may be. I'm already irritated with the pig.
Right.
Yes.
Why did they need to be ordering people around? Or pigs,
animals, but
right.
Why do the new, what? You remember what I said? You can't have an anarchy? You cannot, because somebody, for whatever their reason, will decide to assume leadership and you no longer have an anarchy?
Yep.
Voila. Okay, and every animal, down to the humblest, worked at turning the hay and gathering it. Even the ducks and hens toiled to and fro all day in the sun, carrying tiny wisps of hay in their beaks. In the end, they finished the harvest in 2 days less time than it had usually taken Jones and his men. Moreover, it was the biggest harvest that the farm had ever seen. There was no wastage whatever. The hens and ducks with their sharp eyes had gathered up the very last stock, and not an animal on the farm had stolen so much as a mouthful. Stolen. Does it belong to you or doesn't it? Right. You know, it kind of reminds me of the HOA a little bit, in the way that in an HOA, it ostensibly belongs to everybody, but you get this board who somehow or another sort of assumes ownership.
Yep.
And they sort of represent you, but they sort of don't. We know about that. All throughout that summer, the work of the farm went like clockwork. The animals were happy as they had never conceived it possible to be. Every mouthful of food was an acute, positive pleasure now that it was truly their own food, produced by themselves and for themselves, not doled out to them by a grudging master. With the worthless, parasitical human beings gone, there was more for everyone to eat. There was more leisure, too, inexperienced though the animals were. They met with many difficulties. For instance, later in the year when they harvested the corn, they had to tread it out in the ancient style and blow away the chaff with their breath, since the farm possessed no threshing machine. But the pigs with their cleverness and Boxer with his tremendous muscles always pulled them through. Boxer was the admiration of everybody. He had been a hard worker even in Jones's time, but now he seemed more like 3 horses than one. There were days when the entire work of the farm seemed to rest on his mighty shoulders. From morning to night, he was pushing and pulling, always at the spot where the work was hardest. He had made an arrangement with one of the cockerels to call him in the morning half an hour earlier than anyone else, and would put in some volunteer labor at whatever seemed to be most needed before the regular day's work began. I started thinking about Marco Rubio, Trump's boxer. His answer to every problem, every setback was, "I will work harder," which he had adopted as his personal motto. But everyone worked according to his capacity. The hens and ducks, for instance, saved 5 bushels of corn at the harvest by gathering up the stray grains. Nobody stole. Nobody grumbled over his rations. The quarreling and biting and jealousy, which had been normal features of life in the old days, had almost disappeared. Nobody shirked, or almost nobody. Molly, it was true, was not good at getting up in the mornings and had a way of leaving work early on the grounds that there was a stone in her hoof. Did you think bone spurs?
Yeah, right.
Molly Bone Spurs. And the behavior of the cat was somewhat peculiar. It was soon noticed that when there was work to be done, the cat could never be found. She would vanish for hours on end and then reappear at meal times or in the evening after work was over, as though nothing had happened. But she always made such excellent excuses and purred so affectionately that it was impossible not to believe in her good intentions.
Whoa.
How easily they are fooled, which tells you so much. Old Benjamin the donkey seemed quite unchanged since the rebellion. He did his work in the same slow, obstinate way as he had done it in Jones's time, never shirking and never volunteering for extra work either. About the rebellion and its results, he would express no opinion. When asked whether he was not happier now that Jones was gone, he would say only, "Donkeys live a long time. None of you has ever seen a dead donkey." And the others had to be content with this cryptic answer. On Sundays, there was no work. Breakfast was an hour later than usual, and after breakfast, there was a ceremony which was observed every week without fail. First came the hoisting of the flag. I'm thinking that that's how they get you in the cult. The rituals and the camaraderie and the you're very special, or at least you're the same as everyone else, not lowly any longer. And they get you to buy in deep, deep, deep. The flag. First came the hoisting of the flag. Snowball had found in the harness room an old green tablecloth of Mrs. Jones's and had painted on it a hoof and a horn in white. This was run up on the flagstaff in the farmhouse garden every Sunday morning. The flag was green, Snowball explained, to represent the green fields of England, while the hoof and horn signified the future republic of the animals, which would arise when the human race had been finally overthrown. After the hoisting of the flag, all the animals trooped into the big barn for a general assembly, which was known as the meeting. Here the work of the coming week was planned out and resolutions were put forward and debated. It was always the pigs who put forward the resolutions. The other animals understood how to vote, but could never think of any resolutions on their own. You know what that's reminding me of? Go back to ancient Athens, where everybody was supposed to be part of it, right?
Right.
But yet only some were right there and could actually participate, and there was still a council that was the one that put forward what you voted on.
That's right. That's right.
So it looks like early socialism and early representative democracy look very similar to one another already.
Mm-hmm.
Already. And the issue, again, the means of production and the decision making. Snowball and Napoleon were by far the most active in the debates, but it was noticed that these two were never in agreement. Whatever suggestion either of them made, the other could be counted on to oppose it. Even when it was resolved, a thing no one could object to in itself, to set aside the small paddock behind the orchard as the home of cut. Even when it was resolved, a thing no one could object to in itself, to set aside the small paddock behind the orchard as a home of rest for animals who were past work, there was a stormy debate over the correct retiring age for each class of animal. The meeting always ended with the singing of Beasts of England, and the afternoon was given up to recreation. So they're creating two parties?
Sounds like it.
It does, doesn't it? Here's what's interesting. In our country, those two parties solidified and it became impossible for any other parties. And they stayed being the loyal opposition for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
In the USSR, on the other hand, one, like what this is ostensibly modeling, one party overcomes the other and insists on being the sole rule. Now we see Trump attempting that.
Right.
Or it looks like Trump's attempting that. Wouldn't want to cast aspersions or anything. Just saying. The pigs, of course the pigs. Are they actually the smartest, and is that why? Are they? Or are they the craftiest? Or are they the most treacherous? Are they the ones willing to manipulate? Are they the sociopaths? Are they the narcissists? What is it that makes these pigs stand out and willing to do this? Note, stand out. That's foreshadowing by accident. The pigs had set aside the harness room as a headquarters for themselves. Here in the evenings, they studied blacksmithing, carpentering, and other necessary arts from books which they brought out of the farmhouse. Are they not using the means of humans?
That's right.
At the same time, they're becoming educated, which is a good thing, but they're keeping the education for themselves. They're keeping everybody else uneducated. Who is it that said, I love the uneducated? It's maddening is what it is. Snowball also busied himself with organizing the other animals into what he called the animal committees. He was indefatigable. How's that?
Mm-hmm.
He was indefatigable at this. He formed the egg production committee for the hens, the clean tails league for the cow. The clean tails league for the cow. What is this, busy work? Or just getting them organized into more things to get their loyalty? You know, when I read this as a kid, I didn't get so much. Layers and layers. The Wild Comrades Re-Education Committee. The object of this was to tame the rats and rabbits. The Whiter Wool Movement for the sheep and various others besides. Oh, besides instituting classes in reading and writing. Okay. On the whole, these projects were a failure. The attempt to tame the wild creatures, for instance, broke down almost immediately. They continued to behave very much as before, and when treated with generosity, simply took advantage of it. The cat joined the re-education committee and was very active in it for some days. She was seen one day sitting on a roof and talking to some sparrows who were just out of her reach. She was telling them that all animals were now comrades and that any sparrow who chose could come and perch on her paw. But the sparrows kept their distance. See, that tells you something too, right? That tells you that some people use their education and knowledge and study of other creatures for their own means and to objectify and harm them.
That's right.
It's also true that the cat has to eat. Like we eat meat. Some things are a conundrum, and I don't know how or if humans will ever untangle some of these things.
Well,
economic relations, food chains, means of production, these are complicated. The reading and writing classes, however, were a great success. By the autumn, almost every animal on the farm was literate in some degree. As for the pigs, they could already read and write perfectly. The dogs learned to read fairly well, but they were not interested in reading anything except the 7 Commandments. Muriel the goat could read somewhat better than the dogs, and sometimes used to read to the others in the evenings from scraps of newspaper which she found on the rubbish heap. Benjamin could read as well as any pig, but never exercised his faculty. So far as he knew, he said, there was nothing worth reading. Clover learnt the whole alphabet, but could not put words together. Boxer could not get beyond the letter D. He would trace out A, B, C, D in the dust with his great hoof, and then he would stand staring at the letters with his ears back, sometimes shaking his forelock, trying with all his might to remember what came next and never succeeding. On several occasions, indeed, he did learn E, F, G, H, but by the time he knew them, it was always discovered he had forgotten A, B, C, and D. Oh, honey. Finally, he decided to be content with the first 4 letters and used to write them out once or twice every day to refresh his memory. Molly refused to learn any but the 6 letters which spelt her own name. She would form these very neatly out of pieces of twig and would then decorate them with a flower or two and walk around them admiring them. All right, so Trump is part Molly.
Right.
Yeah, he's only interested in his own name. And he forms it very neatly out of pieces of twig and decorates them with flowers and walks around them admiring them. That is a part of our president. I think he's smarter than Boxer, but if you look at it a different way, he's not willing to learn more than the first 4 letters, so he never gets any of that depth. Boxer's a deeper thinker. And Boxer isn't nasty.
Right.
None of the other animals on the farm could get further than the letter A. That's sort of, that brings me to a Platonic concept of they could learn what they're looking at, but never the forms. Never the shadows, never the nuances, never the variations. So they got the concept of letter.
That's pretty much it.
Well, look, racists are like that. They get the concept of a human, and then they think all humans should be like that human, or they can't realize it's human. So, so racists are like the rest of the animals on the farm. So let me go back over that so people can understand what I mean. Racists are like this. None of the other animals on the farm could get further than the letter A. It was also found that the stupider animals, such as the sheep, hens, and ducks, were unable to learn the 7 commandments by heart. See, that's how they can take your religion and use it against you right there. After much thought, Snowball declared that the 7 commandments could in effect be reduced to a single maxim. Namely, 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. This, he said, contained the essential principle of animalism. Ooh, what is taken out of that, though? It's sort of like MAGA replacing the Bill of Rights.
Right?
It absolutely is like that. Because there's nothing in 4 legs good, 2 legs bad that says all animals are equal.
Nope.
Nothing that says you can't act like a human if you have 4 legs.
No.
That's something I certainly didn't realize was a danger when I was a kid reading this. I didn't with the phrase MAGA quite get it right away either, though. But I see it now. Whoever had thoroughly grasped it would be safe from human influences. Like what? If you believe MAGA, you're safe from being a socialist, or safe from being a leftist, safe from being Antifa? What? But it is that kind of thinking, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The birds at first objected, since it seemed to them that they also had 2 legs, but Snowball proved to them that this was not so. A bird's wing, comrades, he said, is an organ of propulsion and not of manipulation. It should therefore be regarded as a leg. The distinguishing mark of man is his hand, the instrument with which he does all his mischief. Snowball, not realizing, of course, that it's the brain that is the center of manipulation. But now I understand something.
Right.
The hand manipulates. Money, that's hand. Manipulating is using hands. This is like literally so from this perspective.
Right.
But The manipulation is really from the brain and from money. From manipulating emotions. You don't do that with your hands, really. You manipulate machines with your hands.
Right.
So they're already doing that with their trottas. The birds did not understand Snowball's long words, but they accepted his explanation, and all the humbler animals set to work to learn the new maxim by heart. So what does that tell you? The stupider animals that can't even really learn more than maybe an A if they're lucky.
Right.
But they could learn and they couldn't even learn the commandments by heart. But they
No.
could do this. 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. Maga.
Right. You simplify it down to a...
And repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it.
Right.
Where's the big lie? There's going to be a big lie, right? Watch for the big lie, people. Watch for the big lie. It's coming. I think I know what it might be, but if there's another one that I'd missed when I was younger, so I'm not going to say anything yet. But it's coming. It's coming soon. 4 legs good, 2 legs bad was inscribed on the end wall of the barn above the 7 commandments and in bigger letters. Sure, forget those. Forget your Bill of Rights. Maga! When they had once got it by heart, the sheep developed a great liking for this maxim. The sheep, that's what amused me. Well, yeah. And often as they lay in the field, they would all start bleating. 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. And keep it up for hours on end, never growing tired of it. Unfortunately, is it just, flip it now. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Down with ICE. Fuck Trump. Isn't it just really the same stuff?
Well, yeah.
So motivation, but we're going to use some of the same tools.
Well, that's it.
Maybe we have to use some of the same tools. Maybe these are the tools. I mean, right. I don't know. There are the 10 commandments. There's the Bill of Rights. Do we need this? And then we would say, in God we trust, on our money. That's not a good example, but it's another maxim type of thing. I'm saying it's not a good example because A, the religious thing is not a good idea to have on our money. And B, it doesn't represent, like, say, the Bill of Rights or something. But so it was actually a bad example. But the idea of for good or for bad, people are fairly simple in what they can hold in their minds and act upon and what changes their heart and their behavior, right?
Right.
Now, remember that split, how Napoleon and Snowball, whatever one brought up, the other one argued with?
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to deepen that problem right now. Except that first, I have to not hurt the page. Napoleon took no interest in Snowball's committees. Now, when you say no interest at all, that doesn't mean no interest. That means that he is gray-rocking them. Gray-rocking Snowball. He's trying to make him irrelevant. He's trying to say that all of your projects, I just won't give them energy. And that's some BS, if you ask me. That reminds me back in the day of a certain teacher I worked with that would do that with my ideas. And I let him. I didn't really understand the dynamics, and I just felt less than back in the day. But,
right.
Yeah, I don't know. And I don't know that he meant to do that. I don't know. So Napoleon took no interest in Snowball's committees. He said the education of the young. This is important. Except that I keep messing the pages up. The education of the young was more important than anything that could be done for those who were already grown up. It happened that Jessie and Bluebell had both whelped soon after the hay harvest, giving birth between them to 9 sturdy puppies. This is one of the most important parts of the entire beginning of the book, right here. As soon as they were weaned, Napoleon took them away from their mothers, saying he would make himself responsible for their education. He took them up into a loft which could only be reached by a ladder from the harness room, and there kept them in such seclusion that the rest of the farm soon forgot their existence. Now, number of different things. Hitler Youth. Camps where they teach people to worship Trump. They did some of that even with baby Bush. ICE. Getting them involved with MAGA and then training them and bringing them in on January 6th. And then just keep in mind what I've said, and we'll continue to read here. The mystery of where the milk went to was soon cleared up. It was mixed every day into the pig's mash. The mystery of where the money went was soon cleared up. It was mixed every day into the Trump's account. Oh, I'm sorry. The early apples were now ripening, and the grass of the orchard was littered with windfalls. The animals had assumed as a matter of course that these would be shared out equally. One day, however, the order went forth that all the windfalls were to be collected and brought to the harness room for the use of the pigs. At this, some of the other animals murmured, but it was no use. All the pigs were in full agreement on this point, even Snowball and Napoleon. Oh, yeah. So we have three themes I'm hearing right now. A, the pigs are definitely not equal to everyone else.
Right.
2, Napoleon is training those puppies for a purpose.
Correct.
And there was the third one. We'll just keep with the 2 until I can think of the third one, right? The pigs. Squealer was sent to make the necessary explanations to the others. "Comrades," he cried, "you do not imagine, I hope, that we pigs are doing this in a spirit of selfishness and privilege. Many of us actually dislike milk and apples. I dislike them myself. Our sole object in taking these things is to preserve our health." Okay. Milk and apples, this has been proved by science, comrades, contain substances absolutely necessary to the well-being of a pig. We pigs are brain workers. The whole management and organization of this farm depend on us. Day and night, we're watching over your welfare. It is for your sake that we drink the milk and eat those apples. Do you know what would happen if we pigs failed in our duty? Jones would come back. Yes, Jones would come back. Surely, comrades, cried Squealer almost pleadingly, skipping from side to side and whisking his tail. Surely there is no one among you who wants to see Jones come back. Can't you just hear it? I don't even want to take my salary. I don't want to take the money. I would give it all to charity. I'm doing this for you. And if I didn't do this and watch over things day and night, Biden would come back. Can you imagine? Biden would come back. We can't have Biden back, can we now, comrades? Now, if there was one thing that the animals were completely certain of, it was that they did not want Jones back. Therefore, they put Napoleon back in office. When it was put to them in this light, they had no more to say. The importance of keeping the pigs in good health was all too obvious. So it was agreed, without further argument, that the milk and the windfall apples, and also the main crop of the apples when they ripened, should be reserved for the pigs alone. Yeah. The best parts of America, folks, should be reserved for the Trumps alone. Let me read that again. So it was agreed without further argument. In other words, they all capitulated. Because, of course, let's keep the pigs happy. That'll keep everybody else happy, right? Right? In fact, I'm going to read that whole last paragraph one last time. Now, if there was one thing the animals were completely certain of, it was that they did not want Jones back. When it was put to them in this light, they had no more to say. The importance of keeping the pigs in good health was all too obvious. So it was agreed, without further argument, that the milk and the windfall apples, and also the main crop of apples when they ripened, should be reserved for the pigs alone. Now think about where we are right now. Right now, we're sitting there with a whole special group that wanted to differentiate itself from the libtards, calling themselves MAGA with the slogan, "Make America Great Again," blah, Trump was never wrong, blah, 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 who are sitting there right now giving away all of the milk, all of the windfall apples, and preparing to give the main crop of apples when they ripen, saying that they should be reserved for the Trumps alone.
The billionaires.
Exactly. The pigs.
The pigs.
Except it's not really fair to pigs. Pigs are more intelligent than some other animals and all that, but did they deserve everything?